Do you ever feel like there may be something within you getting in the way of you reaching your full potential? Well, today we're shining a light on old constructs around identity, asking the question, who are you and how did you become that way? And more importantly, is who you are working for you? Is it propelling you toward your next level of impact and reach? And if not, what can you do to change it? Hi, I'm Snakard, and on this channel I help visionary entrepreneurs and transformational leaders like you to expand your impact while loving life every step of the way and without ever having to give up what matters most to you. Today we're talking about identity. Before we get into the details of how it's formed or why it matters, just take a moment to ask yourself, who am I? Or who do I think I am? Notice what words and what kind of descriptors come up. Perhaps you're connecting to dominant characteristics about how you show up in the world, or what you do, or where you're from. Brené Brown's About page on her website leads with researcher, storyteller, Texan. I love that. For Texans, being Texan is definitely part of their identity. But the thing is, what you do or where you're from, or even descriptive words about who you think you are, they aren't necessarily your identity. So first, let's just take a second to define what I mean here so we're speaking the same language. Your identity, as I'm referring to it here, is like a role that you play. It may even be like a mask that you wear or a costume you put on to support that role. And the thing is, you may not even know that you're playing that part. The main distinction is, you didn't come out of the womb this way. You became it. Your identity is not inherently you. I'm going to pause there just for a second, because for some of you that might be a little mind warping. Your identity is not inherently you. For example, my daughter had a friend in first grade who said with full conviction to me one time, "I'm a sporty girl." Well, she didn't come out of the womb swinging a softball bat, but for her, being a sporty girl clearly wasn't just a definition or a description, I should say, of something she likes to do. It was more a declaration of who she thinks she is and how she wanted to present herself to the world. Maybe part of your identity is being the strong, serious, make it happen type at work, but perhaps you're more of a playful, nurturing caregiver at home. Maybe you're a leader no matter where you are, which can certainly be a benefit in professional settings, but not always so much in personal situations. If you're from a large family of leaders, you probably know what I mean. Or maybe part of your identity is about being a survivor, an overcomer, a fighter who made it out of a crappy situation and became someone who no one thought you would ever be. The trap of identities is that you have to be that. A leader leads. A fighter fights. A huge success can't fail. It limits your ability to be or do or even have anything else. So how is an identity formed to begin with? Why do we even have them? Why can't we just be ourselves? Well, you can be yourself, and you probably are with certain people or in certain settings or situations, but you probably learned early on that being yourself is not always liked or accepted. As a young child, your survival literally depended on being accepted by your family. We humans have been through millions of years of evolution with only a tiny little bit of our lifespan being in modern civilization. We're still wired to not get kicked out of the cave. From very early on in life, you started to notice that certain things you did seemed to be good and get you praise and attention. Other things you did seemed to be bad and got you yelled at or punished. You were probably even told things like, "Bad girl, don't do that." Or, "Good child, oh, you're so sweet," or "smart," or "kind," or whatever words started to come your way. So you learned very quickly who you needed to be in the world to get that love and acceptance, or to get the least bad version of whatever it was you got. And as things happened and you started to form interpretations about those seemingly accepting or not so accepting responses, you started to make decisions about yourself. I remember recognizing as a kid that when my older brother got bad grades, our parents were not happy. They were angry. They didn't like it. And the general energy felt very threatening and unstable. So I decided to be a good student. I got mostly A's. I participated in school activities. I sucked up to the teachers. I was even class president of my elementary school. It got me lots of praise and recognition. And every time I did something else that fit that good student role, I got more evidence for how it was working and keeping me safe. Identities, however, tend to take on a life of their own. The question becomes, do you have it or does it have you? The qualities or characteristics of your identity may be awesome qualities. But it doesn't usually play out as you having certain qualities. It plays out more like those qualities having a hold on you because you can't be anything other than that. It's too risky. After all, being that is what kept you safe. So, if part of your identity is being smart and super successful, it leaves you no space to ever do anything stupid or to fail. Now, I'm not saying you'd want to do something or fail, but if you're living big, if you're playing large, playing a big game, it's bound to happen at some point. So if the way you're living into that identity is like there's no option there for you to fail or to make mistakes, it's going to keep you playing small, being guarded, not taking the risks that are going to get you to your full potential, living the biggest game you can, making the biggest impact you can make. Or maybe you are taking those risks, but you feel like you're going to implode in the process, maybe literally getting sick, having problems sleeping, having it carry into stresses into your personal relationships or other aspects of your life. It becomes a recipe for disaster. A big distinction here between your identity and your true self is that your identity is rooted in the need to survive. It's born from a place of fear, whereas your true self knows that you have nothing to fear. Marianne Williamson talks about the relationship between love and fear being like the relationship between darkness and light. Darkness is simply the absence of light. If you turn on the light, darkness can't exist. Similarly, fear is the absence of love. Turn on love or operate from a place of love, which is who and what you really are, and fear can't exist. So anytime you're living as your identity, feeling as though you have to be that because bad things will happen if you're not, it's coming from a place of fear and therefore has an absence of love, an absence of you. It's not necessarily that you're not you at all, but there are limitations. It's like there's a lid on your ability to live in full expression of your true, magnificent, divine self, which limits your ability to fulfill your purpose or to experience freedom and joy in the pursuit of it. So your action item for today is to take a look. Take a look at who you think you are. Your own words will give you clues. We say things like, I'm somebody who, or I'm not the kind of person who, fill in the blank. We also say things like, I'm a leader, not a follower. I'm a take charge kind of person. I'm not one to wait in the wings. Listen to your own statements about yourself. They reveal a lot. You can also write down all the things that you identify with. For me, it might include things like mother, wife, leader, teacher, coach, inspirational speaker. Start by getting conscious to who you think you are. And if you want to get some bonus points, and I know my super achievers out there want their bonus points, you can also consider which qualities or characteristics of your identity are working for you and which ones might be working against you. And know that the idea of what's working or what's not working may even be context specific. Like our leader example from before, being the leader might work great in a business setting, especially if you're the CEO. But it may not work so great in a family situation, especially if your family is full of leaders. Click the video on your screen or linked in the description below for more on how to reinvent yourself into someone who is not limited by old identities or these old constructs. Our next discussion includes making peace with your past, as well as feeling empowered and aligned both inside and out, so you can freely express who you really are and make the mark you're here to make. Be sure to subscribe while you're here to be notified of new videos every week. See you in the next one.